Hi, this is Shu with a review of the KD15. The shoes are so much better than what the player looked like on the court during the playoffs. KD sucked, but the shoes actually show some improvements from the KD14s. The 15, you can see there's a lot of elements from the 15, 14 that's brought forward. So they're maintaining the lineage alive, keeping the lineage alive. For a size 9.5, it weighs about close to 400 grams, 398, something like that. But the interesting thing about this shoe is that I guess it's got a weight that's evenly distributed, because once you feel it in your hand, when you put it on and lace them up, they feel a lot lighter than what the numbers show. At first, when I tried this on, I thought this has to be the lightest KD ever, but no, it wasn't. It just feels that way. Anyway, the fit, I would say you can go true to size or even go half a size down, because most KDs in the past, 14, 13, 12, so I had to go up half a size or a full size because they were so narrow. But here it's a lot roomier than the previous KDs. The KD9s and the KD7s were pretty roomy, so this is how it kind of feels like. The interesting thing is that it's not the pinky part that kind of pinches, but if you might feel some degree of narrow width that bugs you, it's going to be near the toe box area, because it seems to kind of drastically angularly cut here a little bit, so you might feel that. So try and put the shoe on and see how your foot fits on this shoe. The toe box area is very flimsy. You got this very flimsy, foamy neoprene kind of material and mesh, so it's crazy insecure. I wish they had something more starchy like they had in the KD14s or the 13s. Something more starchy and something that's flatter so that it hugs your foot would be better, because this, if you have really Shrek kind of really thick foot, this might be for you. But other than that, for basketball, for lockdown, I would say this is a very, very disappointing, concerning area personally. Unless you can put extra lace loops here, like punch a hole there and extend the lace loops, then maybe you might feel a bit secure. But otherwise, that's a definite no-no for basketball shoes, unless this shoe fits you like a glove. The heel cup, it's strangely insecure. It doesn't really provide the security that you need. There's a significant level of heel slip for me. Compared to the KD14s, also had a bit of a heel slip. They did not lock down as hard or bite down as hard as I wish they could have. But KD15 takes the cake. Heel slippage is a major issue for me. But depending on the shape of your foot, maybe it's gonna work for you. But personally, knowing how most ballers have really narrow feet, this is probably gonna have some. This is gonna probably provide some serious heel slippage issue. Overall, the padding is nice. The way the shoe is shaped around your ankles, nothing pinches or pokes into you. But then at the same time, there are no extra padding. It's very minimal all around. So that's something you might want to keep in mind. Ventilation, although it looks like it's got a lot of holes and whatnot, it's pretty much not much of a departure from KD14. Not crazy breathable. The cushioning is something that deserves praise, because they have a React and a Zoom Strobel, a bit of a modification from the KD14. We had Cushlon and Zoom Strobel. The Zoom Strobel feels a little bit thinner and more responsive. At least that's how it felt on my foot, because I tried both the KD14 and the KD15s and tried wearing them interchangeably or wearing them, one on each foot to try and feel a clear contrast or a difference. The 15 feels lower to the ground, but it feels bouncier. So that's definitely an upgrade. So there's added cushioning, added responsiveness, but lower to the ground. I guess that's the magic of the React foam, the density of the React foam that's used here, because Cushlon, as you know, it's kind of like a lazy boy couch type of feeling where you start sinking in and you feel nice, but then you don't feel that level of cushioning that's been bottomed out, bounced back up. React is a little bit more bouncy that way. So yeah, the Zoom, the React actually feels like an upgrade. It feels bouncier and lower to the ground. One disappointment I have is that this is not a wide shoe. The base is not wide, and it's a very rounded shoe like the Kyrie series. But the KD14s actually had this little plasticky part which works as a stabilizer to prevent ankle rollovers. This was actually somewhere closer to the forefoot, and that actually helped me significantly because I felt a little bit of squishiness where I almost, broke my ankle landing on someone's foot. But at the same time, the plastic plate there actually really provided that break that I needed to provide that ankle security. But here it's all the way on the heel, so you can feel that kind of level of a I suppose a airbag type of a security seatbelt kind of cushion, I guess, protection there, but only on the heel area, which you don't really need much because you rarely break your ankle because you land on your heel funny, because this is also already pretty flat. There's not much of a complaint there. So I don't know why they put it here, but it's unfortunate. Still, the shoe is lower to the ground than the KD14s, like the Kyrie series, so you might feel less insecure even though it's rounded off and it's not broad and it doesn't have an outrigger. But I wish, since they could have put it here, they could have put it a little bit closer to the forefoot. That's one of my biggest disappointment with this shoe. The outsole pattern, it's very reminiscent of the ones used in PG5 and the Kobe 9, the ultimate in terms of traction pattern, but it does not feel as good as the PG5 to the Kobe 9s. I guess it's somewhat closer to the Hyperdunk 17, Hyperdunk React 17, where they had a similar kind of map contour type of pattern, but it did not have the bite that you want. I mean, it's pretty good, but you feel somewhat of a slippage on certain parts, especially on certain patterns, depending on how or where you're planting your foot and depending on the contact surface and the kind of movement that you're making. So it feels like a downgraded version of the PG5 with the Kobe 9 traction. So yeah, could have been better, but still it's comparable to the KD14s. But the KD14, I felt that it was a lot more sensitive to dust. So this not as sensitive to dust as KD14. But then again, when it comes to shoes and the rubber outsole, it depends on what you get, XDR, or depending on the, is it clearer ice-size outsole or just ordinary rubber outsole, or depending on the material, the traction could change a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's better than horrific lightning pattern traction that doesn't work like what we've seen in the Wynot 03s or the Dame 7s. So definitely this is a pretty decent traction. The insole, they come with a similar insole that they've used for all the Zoom Strobel setup for KDs. But even with this insole, which is starchy on the inside and ortholar on the upper part, it feels softer than the KD14s. The KD14s with the starchy insole, it felt a lot rigid and rock hard. But even if it's the same kind of insole, it actually works better with the KD15s, overall softer, and lower to the ground. So yeah, the player sucked, but the shoe actually made some interesting evolution.